And now you're back from outer space. I just walked in and found you here with that sad look upon your face. I should have changed that stupid lock. I should have made you leave your key. Till I know that just 1 second you'll be back to bother me. Go on now, go. Walk out the door. Don't turn around now, because you're not welcome anymore. I got all my life to live, and I've got all my love to give, and I'll survive. I will survive. Hey, hey. Flashback, who's that dancing to the latest? Whatever that song is. I'm talking square biz to you, baby. Square biz. I'm talking love, that is. I'm talking square biz to you, baby. I'm talking love, that is square biz. Hi guys, welcome back to Save Black Girl Reads, where I am your host, Ariel, the best friend in your head that you never knew that you needed, but you are so glad that you have. Welcome back. Okay, so you remember last week when I was tripping about whether or not it was week 5 or week 6, or I didn't know which week it was. So officially we are at week 6, friend. We are here, week 6 of Becoming. Welcome back. Come on in, gather around, take a seat, because we're about to go over chapter 16, 17, and 18. We're going to do this high level overview that we've been talking about. We'll kiki about a few of the things. We will leave the coating of sugar out and the review of the things. And then we will recommence to figure out what we're going to do next and then go from there. Okay. So we're going to jump right in to chapter 16. And as you know, from chapter 15, it was the whole situation of your former president. And he was like, I don't know if I want to talk to Misha about whether or not we're going to run this race and run on and see what the end going to be. However, as we have found out, she has said yes. And we know through history what the results were. But I will say this, in chapter 16, 17, and 18, there was this really great emotional ride that our former first lady actually took us on in the space of the anticipation, the hard work, all of that. And so like chapter 16 actually talks about the start of them being off to races. They have started off pretty slowly, but the machine is picking up speed and things of that nature. They hired the two Davids, they hired a Katie and a Melissa to do the works for the campaign, starting with this 15,000 person attendee announcement for him to run for president. And after that, he spent the next year campaigning in Iowa, because if you don't know your history, or if you don't know your governmental politics and things of that nature, Iowa is a swing state and one of the premier swing states. So obviously they were going to go spend some time, sit down, do a kumbaya session or 5, and then go from there. So your forever first lady is recruited now to campaign 2 to 3 nights a week. And her deal to do so was essentially, she was like, I can campaign for these 2 to 3 nights, but the deal is y'all got to get me home in time to tuck my children in. And I just find it so refreshing that during this time of them trying to campaign and things of that nature, she's still trying to hold on to what she knows is her own professional goals and things of that nature, and where she finds that she has greater impact and more impact. So she's, campaigning 2 to 3 times a week. She's home at night to tuck Sasha and Malia in, and she's still able to work. Let's be honest though, she's not working full-time like she once was. She is transitioning into part-time work, because obviously if you are out 2 to 3 times per week, I don't know what corporate job that you are attending, bro or sis, but 9 times out of 10, you got a performance improvement plan coming down the line. Because if you are gone half a week for every week and you are on a full-time schedule, it's going to be some conversations and some people cussing about what your schedule looks like. So at this point, if she hasn't already made the decision to transition into part-time, she is going to, because again, the role requires it. And her impacts for the campaigning, plus her impact of motherhood, plus her wanting to continue in the way of her own professional career, she had a lot going on. But again, at the end of the day, her priority was, I got to tuck these little ones into bed because the schedule. The process of them campaigning for the next year, she got this debriefing with the team, with her husband's campaign team, and they're trying to tell her, like, don't do this to the Iowans, don't do that to the Iowans, this, that, and third. It's like the whole, this is what you do not to piss them off. So she's doing that, right? But she found out, she was like, but they didn't tell me what I'm actually supposed to talk to these people about, what I actually should be saying. So then she came to the conclusion that, oh, maybe I should tell my story. So in this process of that, on page 236, she talks about the impacts of that and what came about for her on the Iowan campaign trail. So here we go. She said that my job, I realized, was to be myself and to speak as myself. And so I did. And so she did this whole process of speaking to the people. She's talking to them about the things that she needs them to know about why her husband, this magical Black Negro man who just came out of nowhere on John Kerry's DNC platform a year ago, who's now U.S. Senator, is now considering running for the largest office of the free world. What? The pressure, but no pressure, right? They put her in there and was like, 2-3 nights a week, talk to these Iowans. Okay, cool. So then she started telling her story and how it evolved her and how it also brought about a bond to the people of Iowa. She talks about how on page 237, how it actually evolved. She said, the more I told my story, the more my voice settled into itself. I liked my story. I was comfortable telling it, and I was telling it to people who, despite the difference in skin color, reminded me of my family. He talked about how, even though coming up in the South Side of Chicago, not necessarily being familiar with politics and things of that nature, but being okay to have this bond with individuals who don't look like her. And so then she goes on further in the chapter to tell us how she got introduced to the initiative that would soon be her initiative, or one of her initiatives, when she became First Lady. And it was by way of her own daughter. And she took her to the pediatrician. I did the common follow-up because if you didn't know, child, Malia got asthma, and so she has to go for regular checkups. So in the checkup, the doctor said, I don't know what y'all doing, but her BMI is off, meaning that she's a little on the obese side. And so when your former First Lady was going through her mental Rolodex, and she's like, well, how we get her to the fact that she's a little overweight and things of that nature. She realized that on this campaign trail, they're doing a lot. And when she is home, she's also doing a lot. So she's relying more on the convenience of fast food, takeout, delivery, things of that nature. She's realizing how she was a culprit in it, but she's also, this is how it was introduced to her to actually start to think about the health of the children and the gardening, the eating better, the not relying so much on the McDonald's and the Golden Arches drive-through, but to actually give the children, make eating healthy fun. And so she actually goes through that process of how she talked to a friend, because she listen, if not for anything, she talks to her friends regularly about the things that she has going on in life. And what she found out is that one of her friends actually they were paying a chef to come in and cook a couple of times a week to really make some healthier meal alternatives and things of that nature. We know it today as meal prepping. I heard Melissa Frederick say not too long ago, she was like, she said, leftovers have been gentrified into meal prepping. And Big facts. But during that time, that is not what it was known for. And the fact that she was going to have this white man come in and cook her meal, she was like, I felt a little too bougie to be having somebody come in and cook meals a couple of times a week. But then she was like, but what's the alternative? The health of my kid, who the doctor has already said her BMI numbers are off. Which again, the importance of, I just want to take a side note to say this, the importance of knowing what your weight numbers are, your BMI, your blood pressures, things of that nature, not just your number on the scale, because you could be small or tall or whatever may have you, stocky, not stocky, slim, thick, whatever. And you can have these different types of body types, but if you don't know your numbers, whatever number you see on the scale only tells part of the tale. So get a little bit more involved into what these numbers mean and whether or not, based off of your age, your height, your weight, body mass index, things of that nature, beats per minute for your heart, things of that nature, to get to know your numbers better, that, know your numbers. Not that she gave a little bit more details, but obviously we're not going to tackle all of it because, again, system bro, high level overview over here. So then she talks about, or she mentions that she was becoming known for her husband, which was one of the things that she really wasn't excited to do. And she actually addresses it on page 241. And she says, I was becoming known, talking about like her trajectory now in the campaigning. She said, I was becoming known, and I was becoming known for being someone's wife and as someone involved with politics, which made it doubly and triply weird. And when she said that, I had two schools of thought. When she talks about it being doubly and triply weird, the fact that she's being known for being someone else's wife and she's being known for politics, two things that she did not want. She never wanted to be known as someone else's wife. This is why she has fought so hard, because again, as she's talked about in multiple chapters now, the balance of being Mary Tyler Moore and Marion Robinson. Like she wants to be somewhere in the middle. She still wants to have an advantageous career. She still wants to make her mark with her own name, but she's also wanting to make sure that she gives everything that she needs for her family. But at the same time, she's also being involved and getting really tied into politics, which, as we know from previous chapters, especially from the sidelines, seeing from the sidelines, especially being best friends with Santita Jackson and seeing the things from Reverend Jesse Jackson's perspective, she's like, oh no, I don't want anything to do with these politics. I don't want it. Take it away. But here she is in these spaces of where she says she did not want to be, which is interesting. But at the same time, I can understand why she's kind of vacillating through her thoughts here and trying to figure it out. But I also, like I said, I have two schools of thought. My first school of thought is I totally understand her plight. And I wouldn't want to just be known for being somebody's significant other, for being somebody's wife, for being the beside every, I don't know if y'all here we go. She's churchy, right? I don't know if y'all been to like a church and pastor's anniversary or something like that, where they're trying to honor the pastor and things like that, but then they got to slide in the shout outs and whatnot to the first lady as well. But essentially it sounds like a church member and they're like, oh, we love our pastor and this, that, and the third, but then they hit you with but behind every good man, actually, it's beside every good man is a great praying woman or what have you. it's I laugh about it and you laugh it too. But if you grew up churchy like that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. It's the behind and the beside every great man speech, child, that they give at the church pastor's anniversary before they bless them with old packet, a little small packet, a little token of love, as we say in the body. It ain't much, but it's just a token of our love and our appreciation, things of that nature, right? So going back to my school of thought. So in this space, I understand how she is not wanting to be the beside every great man is a praying strong fierce woman. Like, I understand that. I really do. Because like, why would you want to be known for your husband's feats when you be known for your own? Right. But the other side of the school of thought is, there's nothing wrong with an Aisha Curry ministry. I said it. I said it. I said it. Stand by it. I won't take it back. I'll add more to it before I do. Let me just tell you. Okay, so hear me out, bro and sis. Hey, everybody calm down. Let's breathe, because I know I just said a lot. Hear me out, right? Picture it. Stephen Curry. We all know he finna get drafted. The check is gonna be nice. We all know it. We all see it. Phenomenon. Since high school, since college, we've been seeing this. And here Aisha been out here having fun and figuring out that they're gonna be together forever since age like 14 down to the youth ministry camp. So at this point, and if she's, and if they're having these conversations about what the life looks like, it's early, they're young, so she hasn't really had a moment to be like, you know what, I'm gonna pave my own way. Or maybe she has and she's thought about it, and maybe they negotiated that before they got married. I don't know. But what I am saying is, even though Stephen got these millions, Aisha was like, I'll take it and flip it for my own. I'm just saying, she had a jumping board. That's all I'm saying. So sometimes if the man is out here doing the things and the man is known, just, take a, just kind of dive into your own stardom, own source, make your own name that way. I'm just saying. I understand not wanting to be known for your husband or whatever, but I also understand there's nothing wrong with an Aisha Curry ministry. Take the name, make the restaurants, sell the cookbook, get a show, do the thing, write a book, write it. That's all I'm saying. That's it. That's all I got to say. Stay focused. So then she goes on, after she's having this moment of whether or not she really wants to be known for Barack Obama's notoriety and his desire to be president, right? She also talks about the nuances that she feels about his safety. In a world where she experienced, in the world around her experienced, the Kennedys being shot, MLK was shot and assassinated. The Kennedys are shot and assassinated and killed. MLK is shot, assassinated, and killed. Ronald Reagan was shot. Like, the reality of, it's a couple of people around here, they just boo, everybody going down. Like, and she's like, I don't want that to be my husband. But then she also had a realization and a recognition, and she talks about it on page 242. We're not going to go into it, but just take a moment to read it. And she was just basically talking about like how she also knew, like, even though she's concerned about her husband's safety as it pertains to his desire to run for politics, she's also like, but my husband is also a Black man going to the gas station, going to the store, going to the gym, walking to Springfield to the Capitol building. He could be shot. I didn't say it, your former first lady did. I didn't say, she said it. She said he a Black man, so it's already, questions about his safety already. He a Black man in America. It is what it is. So at this point, go on, let the man run. Okay. So then she mentions how she got tired, even in the space of trying to think about his safety, trying to think about not wanting, whether or not she wants to be known for his notoriety or not, trying to still balance her career, being a mom, campaigning for Barack, and things of that nature. She then starts to, and also trying to keep a pulse on everything. She realizes she gets sick of the news outlets and the cable pundits and things of that nature. She got tired of listening to CNN, to MSNBC, to Fox News. And she was just like, turn it all off. Turn on Bravo, HGTV, and she's like, give me mindless sweet TV. I want to see the couple that gets their dream home on HGTV, and I want to be out here watching these women say yes to the dress. Side note, is it just me that when I'm watching Say Yes to the Dress, I'm not watching whole episodes out here, but they be having the clips on YouTube. Is it just me who, when watching the clips and you see the girl who cries because she's finally gotten her dress, and it's like the heavens open up and the angels are singing, and it's just like, this is the one, and they just burst into tears? Is it just me that just feels some type of like, oh my gosh, and I cry with them? Is it just me? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Are you crying too on Say Yes to the Dress? Are you? Or are you out here just being like, I don't know. Are you out here making bets on whether or not the marriage gonna last? Okay. Anywho, but I love that relatability that she talks about, how she just watched HGTV and she watched Say Yes to the Dress because she ain't had time. She got sick of the news feeds, just rotating. And I get that. Like, I understand that wholeheartedly. It's, well, not wholeheartedly, but I can't understand from her perspective why she would turn it off, because she's actually out here campaigning, and sometimes she's a topic of what they talking about. So I can understand that. And so towards the end of the chapter, they give the description. As we know, they won Iowa and things like that. And so in that space of winning Iowa, that gave your former first lady a sense of, maybe Barack is magical. Maybe he can get out here and gain the votes of the people, not just the Black people, but the people. Just saying, it's a thing to think about. And she's actually having moments where she's thinking about it, and she's like, maybe he can do this. So that was pretty much chapter 16 in a nutshell. Now we're moving on to chapter 17. Chapter 17, it has more meat than all three of the chapters that we reviewed this week. And I will tell you why. Because it has most of the information about campaigning after Iowa. So here we are. We have done the year in Iowa. We have, they have done the year in Iowa. They have won the Iowa, and now they got to go out and do it in other markets. So she starts the chapter off by this weird thing that I was like, First Lady, where are you going with this? But she talks about how she was punched in the face as a little girl in first grade. And then she goes on to tie it to how in her 40s, doing the campaign situation and campaigning for her husband, she learns the lesson of like bullies and being punched in the face, and how it takes you aback and you're shocked and you're stunned and you can't really believe what's happening. And she ties that grand moment of being punched in the face by a little boy in first grade to the sucker punches that she gets while she's out here campaigning and things like that for her husband. And so in this space of now he has won Iowa, she has now decided she has to walk away from her job. She doesn't want to, but it's a must at this point, and it's no. So we go to page 254, where she actually talks about it. And she says, the axes have shifted. I was now trying to balance parenting with something altogether different and more confusing. Politics, America, Barack's quest to do something important. And then she goes on to say on page 254 as well, I was a full-time mother and wife now, albeit a wife with a cause and a mother who wanted to guard her kids against getting swallowed up by this cause. It had been painful to step away from my work, but there was no choice. My family needed me, and that mattered more. So in all of these years, right, that she has been like really trying to balance life, love, pursuit of happiness, family, and career, she now gets to this point where she's like, I think I better let it go. Looks like another love TKO. Like she really is having to like let go of her career for the possibility, not even for the actuality. She has to let go of her career for the possibility and the faith factor that her husband could be president. His potential, not the actuality. I did. Could you do it? Lean in, system, bro. I just have a question for you. If there was a lifestyle of greatness on the other end, and it was greatness in a way to help others, not just yourself, but the greatness of others, and you carried a level of greatness as well, but it meant you had to walk away from what you knew as a stable 2-week check coming in regularly with insurance and all the things for the potentiality of your partner. Could you do it? Could you do it? I don't know. That was just like a realization that I just had. Like she left her job for the potential. So anyhow, that's just something to think about. So she went through some things. She described that first punch, and then she goes on to say how the first punch resonated with her in this chapter, and she tied it all together in a beautiful bow, because she talks about like the things and the shenanigans that really came with her campaigning for her husband as her notoriety became bigger, as she became more known, and how the shenanigans, and he became more known, and he started gaining traction and things of that nature. And you got other senators and whatnot who are so ambitious, and they're now dropping like flies out of the race, and they are more prominent. And here we are, and she's ready to, and she's doing what she knows to do. She's been doing what she's been doing in the last year in Iowa, now here. But even in the space of this, there is still some shenaniganry that's going on, and it continues to rise as the notoriety rises. Case in point, let me just go down the list, because she listed some stuff, and I was like, I was pissed off and had to go take a walk, friends. I had to go take a walk, just take a lap, take a deep breath, and get a drink of water, because I was just like, the audacity and the unmitigated gall. Just, had to take a moment to calm down. But essentially, she talked about how people were going through her pastor's sermons to show him as a raging and resentful Black man who was trying to admonish his congregants to also be radicalized in that space. She talks about how her senior thesis was picked apart 20 years in the past. Like, mind you, she's 40. She's in her 40s at this moment. They are picking apart a paper she wrote in her 20s. In her 20s. And the paper was basically talking about African-American alumni who attended Princeton and how they felt about the race after having attended. I don't understand. And they tried, and so basically what she described is, she said that they tried to take that paper, right? They tried to make her this radicalized, militant, angry Black woman, which we don't tolerate over here. But she also talks about how they tried to make her seem uneducated, even in her thesis. I was like, wait, y'all gonna try to make her radicalized and militant, but she also can't read and she's illiterate? Like, how whom do you think you are writing of? Like, whom do you think you are to just like dismantle someone in that space and in that way? Like, it's not necessary. But then she also talks about how they accused your former president. And if you were old enough to vote during this time, and you could hear the conversations that were being had, child, you know that she is not telling not a stitch of a lie in these things that were talked about, because there was the conversation of saying that he was a secret Muslim, even though his membership is down there to Reverend Wright's church. They're saying that he's a secret Muslim. They're saying that he was born in Kenya and not in Hawaii, the birtherism type of things started happening and saying that he needed to produce his birth certificate. The disrespect and the unmitigated gall, like, just how dare you? Because no one prior to this president had been asked any type of audacious thing to be like, well, sir, can we have you produce your birth certificate? Wild, wild. But then she even goes on to how they pretty much accused her of saying that they had video or her on video calling Caucasian people white, to the point where one of her friends called her friend, lean in, the friend called her and was like, tell me it isn't true. And she's like, girl, what you talking about? No, it's not true. But the fact that she has to even defend herself in her own personal relationships for these shenanigans, again, wild. But then again, they're calling her angry Black woman. And they even took just some of the most innocent things that they did. She's having a playful fist bump with Barack, and it's turned into this terrible fist jab, this terroristic fist jab. What? And then referring to her as, and this was the one that sent me, this is the one that made me have to go take a lap. They called her Obama's baby mama. Oh, grab your pearls, put your soul back in your body. Just listen, take a deep breath, just real quick, because I know you ready to do this number. You got Nuck If You Buck playing in the background of your head. You ready to grease your face up, braid your hair down, and go meet the people who said it. But your former first lady has always said, when they go low, we go high. And she's been in the exhibition of it, even down to the high school when the guidance counselor told her she wasn't Princeton material, and she she got in anyway, and she didn't even go back and tell that guidance counselor that she did. So here we go. And she's talking about these punches. She's talking about these people being bullies, and she's talking about how they are pretty much trying to paint a picture of her being an angry Black woman. And she addresses and highlights the experiences and the notions behind the angry Black woman, and how how that trying to weaponize that statement and that slogan of an angry Black woman against a Black woman, how it then attempts to disregard and silence a Black woman. And so she talks about it on page 265, where she says, I was female, Black, and strong, which to certain people maintaining a certain mindset translated only to angry. It was another damaging cliche, one that's been forever used to sweep minority women to the perimeter of every room, an unconscious signal not to listen to what we have got to say. And then she talks about, and she actually poses these great, poignant, and critically thinking questions that talk about how many angry Black women have been caught in the circular logic of this phrase. When you aren't being listened to, why wouldn't you get louder? If you are written off as angry or emotional, doesn't that just cause more of the same? And basically, she's asking the questions. If you use the angry Black woman statement, slogan, and things of that nature to disregard and to silence a Black woman, why would you even think for a moment that you wouldn't get more of an angry Black woman if you did not do what you are claiming at that moment? As opposed to allowing this woman to speak her piece, speak her mind, and just give this space for it. And I was just like, I feel seen, and I'm also angry, and even in that space, because that's the thing. I felt so seen in that moment, because I feel like for so many who are not Black women, they do not understand. But there's also the plight of an angry Black man. And so I think when we talk about these things, understanding the plights that sometimes Black men go through this as well, especially when you are in the corporate world, especially when things are on tap dancing on your nerve, you have to before you can actually bring it up, you have to have a deep moment and a conversation within yourself to understand that you just can't come off in passion, because Susie and Becky, they can come out here and say all types of haphazard, crazy things. And people are just going to be like, you know what? That's just Susie. That's just Becky. They say the things, but it's okay. However, when you and all of your gloriousness of melanin magic open your mouth to say something, and if you raise your voice an octave or anything like that, immediately you have an attitude, immediately you are angry, immediately people are scared that you would even bring yourself to say it in that manner. And I just felt so seen. And I think she did it so succinctly to ask that question. If someone is in this space, if you are calling them this, don't you think it's a little gaslighty to call them that and then silence them, and not to think that you're not going to get more of what you just said that she was? I was like, preach to the choir and the congregation. I don't know. Maybe you need to go tithe at your local church for that one, sis or bro. I don't know. I'm just saying, I might go tithe off of that one this week, because that was amazing. It was immaculately asked. And I was just like, oh, critical thinking. Wow. So yeah, in the space of all of this, they're dragging her name through the mud. They're calling her an angry Black woman. They're saying that she called white people whitey, and which she hasn't done. She's wanting to address it. The campaign managers for former President Barack is like, no, let's just continue to take the hits and move on in stride. And she's like, I don't know, because see, the South Side in her is like, we should at least address it, but they're like, no, let's not address it. Let's just continue, keep calm and carry on. They're wanting to do that. And so then she goes through these thought processes of like, because then there's this one particular situation that happens. She's telling her story. She talked about it. She gave you the length of what she actually said. And then she talked about how it was chopped and screwed over there on Fox News to make her sound like she wasn't patriotic, to make her sound like she has never believed in America. And so then it's this whole process. She's thinking that she's screwing things up. She takes it really hard. She doesn't want to mess up the campaign that has been run. She's thinking about whether or not she should remove herself from the campaign altogether. She goes through these thought processes of saying, like, I didn't choose this. I didn't want this. I just want to be married to this beautiful man. We had these beautiful babies. We raise them together, have beautiful careers, and let that be it. And also live in a space that my parents can say that they are proud of me in, and vice versa also for you, that your parents could also say that too. And so like she is really tussling with these feelings of feeling overwhelmed, feeling like she's a detriment and a liability to the campaign instead of an asset, and asking her husband like, hey, I think I should leave. And he's like, he actually told her, he gave her this space of like not having her feel beholden, to the point where he said, like, if you don't want to feel beholden to this campaign, clock out. I'm not going to ask you to remain in this. If you are feeling overwhelmed, you have done a great job. But also, if you need support, let me know, because I'll get you whatever it is that you need. Again, your former president for the win. And why he was president, because he went out here like, you know what, you need to be the background to my foreground. He was like, listen, if you need to take a moment, I understand that this is a lot. I understand that I've asked you for a lot. But if you feel like you need to tap out, you need to take a break, or you just don't want no parts of it altogether, we can call this what this is. Thank you for what you have done so far. And I was just like, oh, just sigh of relief for her, because again, she's been holding herself to this high standard of feeling like she's let him down by way of what bullies on the media have said. and not even have said about a speech. They chopped and screwed up her speech. But anywho, so then she had an intervention moment with David Axelrod, who they called Axe, and Valerie Jarrett, who has been a friend of the family for years now at this point, almost maybe even decades at this point. But they have an intervention with her. They talk about, and basically they go over the game tape. Essentially, one of the speeches that she's talking about, one of the things that she's saying that she's very impassioned about, they show it to her, they turn the volume down or they mute it, and essentially show her, and they're like, you look a little too serious, you look a little too unapproachable. Like, it's great that you're serious about these topics that you are bringing up. However, sis, you got to scale it back. We got to soften you up a little bit, because it's a little too much for what Americans and what people want to see from a first lady. And so she had this whole spiel about, like, she didn't have enough time to have empathy for the likes of a Hillary Clinton while Hillary Clinton was running. However, when she was approached about this and the fact that she needed to get some more support in this area, she was like, again, having empathetic moments for an opponent, even though this opponent is still being shady AF. Towards the campaign, she talks about how, in reflection of that time, she had a moment to reflect on the fact that what Hillary Clinton was possibly dealing with and going through as well, because even though Hillary Clinton could never understand the diminishment that the statement and the phrase of angry Black woman carries, she is also still a woman trying to go for the position that has been male dominated since the start of this country. And so she had a moment to empathize for her. And I thought that was just so. Even in the process of, after having that conversation about intervention, she and she and her team, they get together, they do some more practice. She hires more people to pretty much support her in trying to get the softer side of herself noticed a little bit more. So she ups her team to help her play the game better. Let's think of it as, I don't want to say think of it as a Game of Thrones, but she gathers her Tyrion, she gathers her Jon Snow, she gathers her Daenerys. She gathers her Tyrion, her Varys, her Jon Snow, her Jorah Mormont, to her Daenerys. She got her Missandei, her Grey Worm, if you will, to really just put her in the space of, getting to where she needed to be on this campaign trail, so that it's not so that the areas in which she can control of what she is actually doing, and going back over the game tape, as I refer to it as, she's able to actually produce something that's a little bit more realistic, and she's able to do something about what is in her control. So there's that. Ultimately, she warmed my heart in this chapter after I had to go take a lap and calm down. She warmed my heart with the description of Butte, Montana on July 4th, as they were campaigning, because it was Malia's birthday, and just like the best birthday ever. Ending the chapter with that, I thought was wonderful. A wonderful end to the chapter, after she has taken me through all of these emotions, where again, you ready to strap up, are you ready to just look, if you but just and it's like, no, everybody calm down. This happened in 2007, 2008. Like, calm down. Okay, so anyway, we are now in chapter 18. Chapter 18 was not, I think it was like the shortest of all of the chapters for this week. But in this chapter, we start the chapter off with your former first lady. She's going to the voting booth with her husband and her children in tow. And she talks about how she is trying to create this tradition that was actually created with her, because she went to the polls with her mom and dad when they were voting. And so she created that tradition, or she's wanting to create this tradition with her own daughters, of like, no, they can't vote, but they should be able to see the process. And I thought that that was absolutely wonderful. And to just encourage you as well, if you are a parent of children and you can take them, or you can afford to take them down to the polls when you go vote for these midterms, because 2 weeks ago I told you, go get your voter registration in order so that you could go vote when you're supposed to in November. I said it. So if you still hadn't done it, I don't know what your problem is. I don't know why you're waiting, but you need to get your house in order so you can vote. But also, to tag on to that, if you can take your children so that they can see you voting for the interests that you have, that could actually inspire them to continue the process when they get older. Okay, just a thought. So then she really talked through and she really expressed their wait for the election results. And I just want to say this. Because we already know what the results are, but I will, like, we do. We know that he won, and he won twice, not once, but twice. But even in the space of that, I will say that in chapter 18, she really gave us the feelings that they were feeling, the anxiety, the angst of not knowing, the nervousness around everything that was going on, the feeling that we've done what we set out to do. There's not much more that we can. We took a leap, and now we're just waiting to see if we land on the landing pad or we have to do something different. You know, her husband has prepared 2 speeches. Even though the polls are saying that he has it in the bag, he's also like, you know what, let me just prepare my heart and mind just in case, because I don't know. So there's one particular moment that I really want to express. So it's a moment where they are all at the house before they go to the hotel to really finish with the results and everything like that. So her husband and her brother have come back from a basketball game. He's upstairs. She took a moment to go upstairs because she's tired of talking to the people that's at her house. And she just needs a moment to herself. Not that she's just overly tired of them, but she just needs a moment to herself really quickly. She finds her husband. He's in his office. She's asking him, how is he doing, and things of that nature. And like, they're doing a check-in, right? Doing a check-in in that moment. So even in the space of them doing this check-in, one thing that we learned, and she slid it in so quick that you really just did not, it was just like a doo-doo, and it was like, oh, you know, it was like that. It was like that punch that hit her in the face in the first grade. Like, literally, she came back with a semblance of that punch in this chapter when she was like, by the way, Toot is gone. She died a few days before the election results came in, and she died a few days before he was deemed president. And I was like, y'all got Gramps before the wedding. Y'all took Ann Dunham before he was elected the senator. Not too gone before he president. Like, all of the parents that he's known that have been consistent in his life, that have taught him how to be a decent human being, that have really given him they've shaped him into who he is. Every single individual gone. Toot was 86, and she died of cancer. And I'm like, you saw this in now? I wasn't too through, but I was also like, oh no. I think I actually said that out loud. Like, they got Toot, y'all. Toot gone. She done went on to glory. Help us. So, but, and this is why this moment between her mom and him. So let's now jump forward to what we were talking about before. They were in this hotel room that the campaign team has pretty much rented for them, or a hotel conference room that has been rented for them. And then the Biden camp is, because, you know, he's the vice president. The Biden camp is right across the hall. Okay, got it. So in this moment, they're still trying to, you know, they're doing the counts and everything like that. The states are coming in, you know, South Carolina for McCain, but, you know, Iowa for Obama, Chicago for Obama, and things of that nature. And they're trying to really like figure it out, and the things of that nature. And essentially then he's sitting on the couch and he's looking at the results, and he looked at Michelle's mom and he was like, you ready for this, grandma? And she looked at him and she didn't give too many emotions because, you know, Marion Robinson is not one that is just overly emoting. She's very pragmatic and she's very real. But then there was a moment where your former first lady, she looks off and she looks back and they are holding hands together watching the screen. And I was just like, oh, the meaning of that photo now, because I think she actually includes a photo of that in the book, but to see that photo in the description does no justice until you read chapter 18 and the meaning of that photo. For him to have a mother near him when those who he's known as mother are no longer here. Toot was the last one. Toot was it, and she is gone a few days before he wins. And and it's talked about too of how he paused his campaign to go visit with Toot because he didn't pause his campaign to go say goodbye to his mother and didn't get the opportunity, but he got the opportunity with Toot. And you know, things of that nature. So he finally gets us to the finish line. We know he won, as history has recorded it. And if you were there and present and available, if you've read the history books, or even if you weren't present and available and you read the history books, you know that he won. And so on page 279, she actually talks about the winning, and she said it was as if we were suspended in time and space, a little like a dream, because it was so unbelievable. And she was just like, she said that time really kind of stood still. She still doesn't remember. Everything was kind of like a haze. She remembers just being rushed, hustled, and bustled out of the side of the building to get into the car for the motorcade to get over there to Grant Park, where he would give his, you know, his president-elect speech. Now the motorcade is real. You got Secret Service, you got individual, you know, there's a police escorted motorcade. Like, it's a lot. But I think what was really prominent was the fact that she mentioned that they, at the end of this, even though this is like the beginning of the presidency, this is the ending of them becoming us, and they are becoming more. And so she actually ends the chapter saying that, and that chapter 18 was the end of the becoming us stage. So going into chapters 19, 20, and 21 for next week, we will now be in the becoming more stage, which is something that I'm very excited about. I thought that this read was one that was very one that was very simple, but also very chock full of information as to how she actually told these stories and things of that nature, and to really just give us the realities around it. She's not one to shy away from race. She's not one to shy away from the actual issues of being a woman, of trying to figure out how to be, you know, a woman, but also be supportive of a husband, be a mom to 2 kids, and things of that nature. And I just really appreciate her level of vulnerability, honesty, and relatability that she puts into her chapters. Again, like I said, I've read this book already, but just the reread in itself is drudging up. I'm here having these emotional moments as if she wrote the book yesterday. And this book is 4 years old. But I just wanted to say that this is a phenomenal read. And again, next week, we're going over chapters 19, 20, and 21, where we will now be in the becoming more space. So I'm excited to get into that with you all next week. Again, leave comments down in the comment section about the questions that I've been asking in the video earlier, and we will do this all again next week, friends. So until next time, saints and eights, I'll be seeing you. Bye.